I decided it was time to teach Simon a lesson. If he wanted to steal from me, he'd have to pay the price. Wiring up electronics is something of a hobby of mine, and I decided that I would make a trap for Simon. I rigged up a package with a little surprise inside. I wired it so that anyone who touched it would get a mostly harmless and very unpleasant electric shock. To top it off, I added a stink bomb inside the box. When it went off, it would cover the thief in a foul-smelling substance that wouldn't wash off easily. To make sure that, should he take the package with him though, I hid a tracking tag in the bottom of the package as well. The next day, I placed the trap on my porch and made sure my camera was ready. Then I went to work, hoping my plan would work. When I got home that evening, the trap had been sprung. The package was gone, but my camera had captured everything. There was Simon, sneaking onto my porch in his signature hoodie. He grabbed the package, and the second he lifted it, the shock hit him. He stumbled back, flailing his arms, and then the stink bomb went off, covering him in a thick, foul-smelling goo. Hi there, I'm Benny, and I've lived in my quiet little neighborhood for years. It's the kind of place where everyone knows everyone, where kids ride their bikes on the street and neighbors exchange friendly waves. Well, at least it used to be. Everything changed when I got a new neighbor. A man by the name of Simon moved in next door. At first, I didn't think much of him. He seemed a little odd, always wearing that same black hoodie with the obscure band logo on it, and avoiding eye contact. He kept to himself mostly, and he never spoke to anyone, and his house always had the blinds drawn. To each their own, I thought. But then, things started to go missing. It started with my packages. I would order things online often, and the delivery drivers would leave them on my front porch. I'd even get a notification that a delivery had been made, but when I got home, there was nothing there. At first, I thought maybe it was a mistake. Maybe the delivery driver left it at the wrong house. But after it happened 3, 4, 5 times, I knew something was up. And so I asked around the neighborhood, and sadly, I wasn't the only one that had been targeted. Thinking that it was some bored teenagers or neighborhood thieves, I decided to set up a doorbell camera. If someone was stealing my stuff, I'd catch them in the act. Sure enough, the very next day, my camera recorded someone sneaking onto my porch and swiping a package. The thief was wearing a ski mask and a black hoodie. But that hoodie, I'd seen it before. Simon wore one just like it all the time. The band logo that was on it was unmistakable. Seeing this, I got the urge to confront Simon and get him to stop and never take my packages ever again. Hey Simon, can I talk to you for a second? Ugh, I'm busy. What do you want? Me and a bunch of our neighbors have been having some issues with our packages going missing. And, well, my camera caught someone stealing them. They were wearing a hoodie just like yours. Oh, is that a fact? Are you accusing me of something? Should I? So you think that I stole your packages? Well, I don't need to steal your crap. I have everything I need. Look, I'm not saying it was you. I'm just saying it's a weird coincidence, and if you happen to know who it was, then maybe you can get them to stop. Well, it wasn't me, so you can go bother someone else. And I didn't believe him for a second, but without a clear shot of his face, I didn't have enough evidence to prove it was him. Frustrated, I decided to let it go, for now, but that I would keep an eye on him, and maybe he would slip up and I would catch him in the act. Or now that I had told him that I suspected him, that maybe he might stop. But things only got worse. Sadly, the packages were only the beginning of the problems. A few weeks later, I got my electricity bill. When I opened it, my jaw nearly hit the floor. I had lived here for over a decade and it had never been that high before. It was more than double what it usually was. I couldn't understand it, as nothing had changed. I didn't get any additional appliances, or do anything out of the ordinary that would warrant such a drastic increase. Something wasn't adding up. I started checking around the house, thinking maybe I'd left a light on, or a device plugged in. Although I couldn't understand how leaving 1 or 2 lights on could account for that much of an increase, I was desperate to find some reason for it. That's when I noticed something odd. A couple of extension cords were running from the side of my house, through the bushes, and straight into Simon's backyard. That's it. I've had enough of this guy. As if the stolen packages and electricity theft weren't enough, Simon's behavior got even worse. One weekend, I went to a local nursery and bought a bunch of different plants. I got some bushes, flowers, and even a couple small young fruit trees. I decided to get up extra early and do the hard work planting all the various things I bought in my front garden. It had been a while since I'd had the time, and I was looking forward to sprucing up the place. Plus, gardening has always made me happy and usually reduced stress. The next morning, I stepped outside to find that someone had trampled my freshly planted flowers and had snapped the thin, fruiting trees in half. The soil was scattered everywhere, and the plants were crushed. My stomach sank. I checked the footage from my doorbell camera, and there it was. Simon, wearing the same ski mask that he had worn before and in his usual hoodie, stumbling through my yard late at night. He appeared to be drunk or something, kicking at the flower beds as he passed. Unbelievable. What the hell did I ever do to this guy? I marched over to his house, pounding on the door. It probably wasn't a good idea, but I was at my wit's end. "Simon, open up!" He cracked the door open just enough to glare at me. I could easily tell that he was hungover, if not still drunk. "Oh, it's you. What do you want now?" "You destroyed my garden last night," I said, holding up my phone to show him the footage. "Care to explain?" "You're imagining things. I mean, that clearly isn't me, and you can't prove that it was." "Don't you dare! I have you on camera. If this doesn't stop, I'm going to the police." "And tell them what? Some mysterious person stepped on your flowers? Give me a break. Again, you can't prove anything. That person in the video could literally be anyone. For all I know, you ruined your own garden, and now you're trying to frame me for doing it." He scoffed and shut the door in my face. I was so angry that I could barely think straight until I went home and had a good few hours to calm down. I decided it was time to teach Simon a lesson. If he wanted to steal from me, he'd have to pay the price. Wiring up electronics is something of a hobby of mine, and I decided that I would make a trap for Simon. I rigged up a package with a little surprise inside. I wired it so that anyone who touched it would get a mostly harmless and very unpleasant electric shock. To top it off, I added a stink bomb inside the box. When it went off, it would cover the thief in a foul-smelling substance that wouldn't wash off easily. To make sure that, should he take the package with him though, I hid a tracking tag in the bottom of the package as well. The next day, I placed the trap on my porch and made sure my camera was ready. Then I went to work, hoping my plan would work. When I got home that evening, the trap had been sprung. The package was gone, but my camera had captured everything. There was Simon, sneaking onto my porch in his signature hoodie. He grabbed the package, and the second he lifted it, the shock hit him. He stumbled back, flailing his arms, and then the stink bomb went off, covering him in a thick, foul-smelling goo. I wasted no time calling the police. When they arrived, I showed them the footage and told them that I had placed a tracking tag inside of it, and even told them all about the stink bomb I had used. They were impressed by my setup and agreed to check out Simon's house. I found it surprising that they would just take me at my word, but apparently I wasn't the only one that had complained about Simon. They had been slowly building up evidence against him, and this was just the final straw. We'll take it from here. If we go over there and he smells like the stink bomb you included in the trap, or the tracker you used is found in his house, then we will have probable cause to go into his house. We won't even need a warrant. It didn't take long for the police to put the pieces together. They used the tracker I used and found that the signal from it was coming from inside Simon's house. They then knocked on Simon's door, and when he answered, still smelling like a landfill, they knew they had their man. With probable cause, they entered his house and found hundreds of stolen packages inside. Some of them were mine. Most of them weren't. "Simon, you're under arrest for theft. There is more than enough evidence, so please just come with us quietly." "This is ridiculous. I didn't do anything. I've clearly been framed." At that point, Simon tried to make a run for it, but the police tackled him and were forced to cuff him and pin him to the ground in order to stop him from running away. They even had to hit him a few times with their batons to get him to stop resisting. The evidence against Simon was undeniable and very overwhelming. The police found evidence that Simon had stolen so many packages that his basement was full of empty boxes, and he had been selling the things he didn't want or need online. When it went to court, it came out that Simon wasn't Simon. The name was just the latest that he had chosen to go by. Apparently, he habitually would steal from people or commit fraud, and when things got too dicey, he would change names and move. It did not go well for Simon, and he was sent to prison for a decade. and his house was seized as part of the investigation. A few months later, a young family bought Simon's house. They were friendly, polite, and even brought over cookies to introduce themselves. It was a welcome change after dealing with Simon's nonsense. Life in the neighborhood finally went back to normal, and I could order packages without worrying about them disappearing. As for Simon, well, let's just say I hope he's enjoying his new accommodations. Thanks for watching.